Whether you're signing contracts or offering contracts to someone you're working with, you might have heard of an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement. And this is meant to protect the companies that you're working with from you talking about their proprietary information or talking about a project prematurely. This way, everybody is safe and protected. And before you sign it, you need to understand what it is and what rights you have to say the things that you want to say for the sake of transparency. Let's talk about this clause with everybody's favorite IP and entertainment lawyer, Tony.
My name is Tony Iliakostas. I'm an adjunct professor of entertainment law and IP at New York Law School, and I have an Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok account called The IP Professor that is dedicated to all things intellectual property.
Okay, Tony, let's talk about contracts that entrepreneurs might sign. We talk a lot about that here on the channel. It's all linked down in the playlist below, but I want to talk about NDAs, or non-disclosure agreements. We often find these inside of contracts when we're working with different companies and different brands. And as influencers, as content creators, and as businesses, we need to understand what this is and how we need to respond to it. So what exactly is an NDA?
So an NDA is a non-disclosure agreement that is typically signed between two parties. So in this case, if you're an influencer or a content creator or anyone else within this creative industry, you're working with, let's say, a brand or an entertainment client, if you will. And the whole premise of an NDA is that whatever the terms of the project that you're working on, or whatever the terms of, let's say, the product that you're working on with brand X or entity X, all of the information, all the data, anything related to that communication between you, the influencer or the content creator or entrepreneur, and the other party, all of that must remain confidential throughout the term of that deal. Now, usually there is a term period of enforceability. It's typically once the, let's say the ad campaign goes live and you start rolling out the videos for a social media campaign, or once the product goes live, whatever it is. Usually there's an embargo period that remains in effect up until the release of whatever, obligation you have with that specific brand. So let's say you engage in a social media campaign, you can't tease it out at all until, let's say October 1st, 2023. That's when the embargo period in effect becomes lifted. Again, the whole premise of the NDA is to keep information that is privy to you and the other party a secret. And in effect, if you were to do anything that would violate the terms of that, meaning you don't keep the information a secret, you don't keep that proprietary info at all confidential, that could lead to a breach of the non-disclosure agreement that could lead to a lot of long-term effects. The big one, the big effect being that it could lead to a termination of a deal, a contract between you, the influencer, the entrepreneur, the content creator, and the brand. They don't want to do business with you anymore. They don't want you to endorse their product. They don't want you to promote it on social media. They don't want you to work with them in any capacity, even if, let's say, you're doing a product launch in association with them. That's mainly because you didn't keep your mouth shut. So when you look at any NDA, and especially if this is something that is a bit of newer territory for you, hire a lawyer to help you review the NDA, because oftentimes non-disclosure agreements contain the type of language that could trip up the layperson. You may not realize that what you're agreeing to may be disadvantageous to you, the creator. And at the end of the day, what you want is full-fledged transparency, and what you don't want is some type of impingement of your rights. And also, a lawyer will help you understand what does trigger some type of breach of a contract of an NDA. Having a lawyer help guide you, and it's not, and I'm not saying this to sound like belittling, but a lawyer will hold your hand throughout that process, because again, you may not be privy to this type of legalese. So a lawyer will help you understand what would trigger some type of breach, and basically your knowledge and your understanding of that will help then lead you to the next step, which is understanding what you can and cannot share during the term of your non-disclosure agreement with brand X. And then once that embargo period comes to an end, you could flap your gums all you want. But obviously, you just have to be very mindful of what the NDA governs and how you have to honor your terms of that NDA.
And oftentimes we will see these in contracts when companies do not want you sharing proprietary information. So things about the inner workings of those companies, or the behind the scenes of how you're doing a brand deal with them, or the money that you're being paid to do the brand deal or create the project or show up to the event. They want to keep a lot of those things quiet. And for the sake of transparency, a lot of creators like to talk about these things. So making sure that you understand what you can and cannot say is going to be incredibly helpful. And having a lawyer there to guide you through the process is essential to making sure that you are safe and protected inside of any contract that you are going to be signing. So we always recommend that you grab yourself a lawyer to help go over it. Not all lawyers are created equal, so make sure you get somebody who understands this type of contract and ask those really great questions to make sure it's clear for yourself before you move forward with this. And of course, if you've got questions about showing behind the scenes or things that you want to do or having conversations for the sake of transparency, you can always ask the company that you're working with. They are more than likely going to have an answer for you and be able to logically explain why you can or cannot do something within those terms of the contract that you have signed. So make sure you understand that before moving forward. If you've got questions on contracts that you are working with inside of the entrepreneurial space, drop them now. Tony's coming back for upcoming episodes. And as always, you can hit up Tony on his social media to get questions right here and right now without even having to wait for upcoming videos. So Tony, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at the IP Professor. You can check out my entertainment law podcast called End Scene, with new episodes dropping every Friday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Drop your questions on navigating contracts and the legal side of your entrepreneurial journey, as well as your questions on marketing and running your business, because every single day we are dropping brand new videos to help you navigate the world of your social media marketing, save you time and effort, so this can be your most profitable year ever with less work, less stress, less overwhelm, so you can create luxury time inside of your business so that you can live your best life while your business is working for you without you being hands-on every minute of every day. We'll see you in the upcoming episodes.